First Contact Fallacy. The Grand Marshal of the Caldari Empire, Taser Vex, stood motionless on the observation deck of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominance. His 4 arms remained perfectly still behind his back as he gazed at the holographic display of a small blue and green planet revolving slowly before him. Earth, the latest target in the Empire's 5,000-year expansion. Such a quaint little world, he remarked, his voice carrying the weight of countless conquered civilizations. Their communications are still limited to primitive radio waves. Their vehicles still rely on combustion engines, and they've barely ventured beyond their own moon. High Commander Zilx approached with practiced deference, her exoskeleton clicking softly against the polished floor. The survey is complete, Grand Marshal. As expected, they have minimal orbital defenses, mostly satellites for weather monitoring and communications. Their most advanced weapons use nuclear fission, positively ancient technology. Taser nodded, his scaled head reflecting the blue light of Earth's hologram. And yet they've survived this long without being conquered. Curious. Their isolation protected them, Zilx explained. This arm of the galaxy has been largely unexplored until now. Well, their isolation ends today. Taser turned to face the command center, where hundreds of Caldari officers monitored systems across the vast chamber. Begin the invasion protocol. Standard approach. Their primitive sensors won't detect us until we're well within their atmosphere. The Caldari invasion fleet comprised 300 warships, each capable of reducing entire continents to ash. They had conquered worlds with far more advanced defenses than Earth's. This would be nothing more than a formality, another jewel in the Empire's vast collection. As the fleet approached Earth's outer orbit, something unexpected happened. Grand Marshal, called the tactical officer, her voice rising with confusion. I'm detecting energy signatures, hundreds of them, emerging from behind Earth's moon. Taser frowned. Impossible. Our scans showed no lunar installations. The main display shifted to show small craft emerging from what appeared to be hidden bases on the lunar surface. They were unlike any ships the Caldari had encountered before. Sleek, angular vessels that moved with surprising agility. Analysis, Taser demanded. They appear to be using modified ion propulsion systems, the science officer reported, his voice betraying his confusion. But they're achieving acceleration rates that should be impossible with such technology. The human vessels spread out in what seemed at first to be random patterns, but soon revealed themselves to be complex formations designed to surround the Caldari vanguard. The lead human ship opened a communication channel. Attention unknown vessels, came a calm, almost casual human voice. This is Captain Morgan Chen of Earth Defense Squadron Yama. You are entering restricted space without authorization. Please identify yourselves and state your purpose. Taser smiled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Open a channel. When the communication officer nodded, he spoke with measured confidence. This is Grand Marshal Taser Vex of the Caldari Empire. Your world is now under our protection. Surrender your defenses and prepare for integration into the Empire. There was a brief pause before the human captain responded, I see. And if we decline your generous offer, then we will take your world by force, as we have taken hundreds before yours. Another pause. Then, interesting approach to diplomacy. Please hold while I consult with command. Taser turned to Zilx. They're stalling. Begin the first wave assault. 50 Caldari destroyers moved forward, their weapon systems powering up. The smaller human vessels should have retreated. Any rational species would recognize the overwhelming force they faced. Instead, they accelerated toward the Caldari ships. They're on an intercept course, Zilx reported, disbelief evident in her voice. It appears they're attacking. What happened next defied explanation. The human vessels executed maneuvers that should have torn them apart, changing direction at speeds that suggested inertial dampening technology the Caldari had believed was centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. They moved in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were impossibly coordinated, creating overlapping fields of fire that targeted specific vulnerabilities in the Caldari shields. How are they doing this? Zilx demanded as the tactical display showed the first Caldari destroyer's shields failing. Unknown, High Commander, responded the tactical officer. Their weapons are primitive, simple railguns and chemical explosives, but they're hitting us precisely where our shields are weakest. Another communication came through, this time from a different human. Caldari forces, this is Admiral Helena Vasquez of Earth Central Command. I see you've met our interceptor squadron. They're mostly pilots in training. I hope they're not being too rough with your advance force. Taser felt the first stirrings of unease. Training squadron? You expect me to believe those are inexperienced pilots? Oh, they're quite experienced by our standards, Admiral Vasquez replied. Most have logged over 1,000 hours in simulators, but they haven't faced actual combat before today. Consider this their final exam. As if to emphasize her point, 3 more Caldari destroyers reported critical systems failures. The human vessels were using tactics that exploited weaknesses the Caldari didn't even know existed in their own ships. Grand Marshal, Zilx urged, we should deploy the main fleet. Taser nodded grimly. All ships, engage. Full combat protocols. The remaining Caldari warships surged forward, their weapons arrays glowing with deadly intent. The space around Earth's orbit erupted in brilliant flashes as energy weapons discharged against the darkness. But the human vessels continued their impossible dance, evading the majority of the Caldari fire while landing precise hits that disabled rather than destroyed their targets. They're not trying to annihilate us, the tactical officer realized. They're disabling our ships systematically. Why? Zilx asked. If they have the capability to destroy us. Because they don't want to kill unnecessarily, Taser replied, a new understanding dawning. They're showing restraint. Another communication channel opened. A different human appeared on screen, older, with silver hair and eyes that seemed to pierce through the display. Grand Marshal Vex, I am General Alexander Kim of the Earth Defense Force. I understand there's been some confusion about our planet's status. Allow me to clarify. Earth is not available for conquest. Not today. Not ever. Taser's upper hands clenched. You cannot hope to stand against the full might of the Caldari Empire. What you're facing now is merely a fraction of our power. The human general smiled. Funny you should mention that. What you're facing now is merely a fraction of our power. The sensors suddenly lit up with new alerts as massive energy signatures appeared at the edge of the solar system. Enormous vessels, dwarfing even the eternal dominance, emerged from what appeared to be artificially generated wormholes. Impossible, whispered Zilx. Our intelligence indicated they had no such technology. Your intelligence was deliberately missiled, General Kim explained. We've been aware of alien civilizations for over a century. We chose isolation to prepare properly for first contact, or first invasion, as the case may be. The new human vessels moved with the same impossible precision as the smaller craft, but their weapon systems radiated power signatures that made the Caldari's most advanced technology look primitive by comparison. What you've encountered so far, the general continued, is our Academy training fleet. They're equipped with outdated technology we were planning to decommission next year. Our actual defense fleet is just arriving now. Taser felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest, genuine fear. This cannot be. You're bluffing. Am I? Your sensors don't lie, Grand Marshal. But I understand your confusion. You see, humanity has a unique approach to warfare. Throughout our history, we've been forced to innovate against superior forces. Whether it was predators, natural disasters, or our own internal conflicts, we've always had to think creatively to survive. As if to demonstrate, the human defense fleet began executing maneuvers that defied conventional military logic. They created formations that somehow amplified their shield strengths while focusing their offensive capabilities with surgical precision. Our main fleet hasn't even arrived yet. General Kim said with calm certainty. What you're seeing is just our solar system defense division. The Earth combined forces are still assembling at our outer bases. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces from our system. After that, we cannot guarantee your safe passage home. Taser stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The Caldari invasion force, the pride of an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds, was being systematically disabled by what the humans claimed was a training squadron and a partial defense force. Grand Marshal, Zilks urged, we need to retreat and reassess. Taser nodded slowly, his pride warring with his tactical sense. All functioning vessels, prepare for emergency withdrawal. Get us out of this system. As the Caldari ships began their retreat, a final message came from General Kim. Grand Marshal, when you return to your empire, tell them this. Earth is not a threat to those who come in peace, but those who come seeking conquest will find only defeat. We hope our next meeting will be under more diplomatic circumstances. The Eternal Dominance limped away from Earth, half its systems disabled by weapons that shouldn't have existed. Taser gazed at the tactical display, showing the human fleets moving into defensive formations around their planet. Formations that revealed military thinking so advanced it bordered on artistry. Send word to the Imperial Council, he ordered Zilks. Tell them we've encountered something unprecedented. A species that has mastered the art of war not through superior technology alone, but through superior imagination. As the damaged Caldari fleet retreated into deep space, the truth became clear. They hadn't come to conquer Earth. They had come to be taught a lesson in humility by a species that had turned survival itself into an art form. And the true might of humanity hadn't even shown itself yet. The true strength of humanity. 3 standard months after the failed invasion attempt, Grand Marshal Taser Vexed stood before the Imperial Council, 13 ancient Caldari, whose combined military experience spanned millennia. He had just finished presenting his report on the Earth encounter, and the chamber had fallen into an uncomfortable silence. Preposterous, Elder Kriv finally declared, his weathered scales shifting with indignation. You expect us to believe that a species confined to a single system repelled our elite vanguard fleet. The evidence is irrefutable. Taser replied, gesturing to the holographic displays showing the battle recordings. Their technological capabilities far exceeded our intelligence assessments. Then our intelligence was flawed, Elder Kriv countered. A simple explanation for a simple failure. High Commander Zilks stepped forward. With respect, Elder, we believe there's something more fundamental at work. The humans didn't just have better technology. They used inferior technology in superior ways. The council chamber erupted in dismissive chattering until the Imperial Sovereign herself raised a hand for silence. Unlike the other council members, Sovereign Nyxera had maintained a thoughtful expression throughout the presentation. You believe there's something unique about these humans, she stated, her eyes fixed on Taser. Something beyond mere technological surprise. Yes, Sovereign, Taser confirmed. In 5,000 years of Imperial expansion, we've conquered species with plasma weapons, gravitic manipulation, even rudimentary time dilation. But the humans, they thinked differently. The Sovereign leaned forward. Explain. They turned their weaknesses into strengths. When our sensors detected their inferior propulsion systems, we anticipated predictable flight patterns, but they had modified those systems to achieve maneuverability our targeting algorithms couldn't anticipate. When we identified their primitive projectile weapons, we adjusted our shields accordingly, only to discover they'd developed munitions specifically designed to resonate with and disrupt our shield frequencies. Impossible, Elder Kriv insisted. How could they know our shield frequencies? They didn't, Zilks explained. They designed weapons that could adapt in real time based on shield feedback. It's an approach we've never encountered before, using adaptive technology rather than brute force. The Sovereign's eyes narrowed. And you believe a second attempt would fail as well? I believe, Taser said carefully, that we should reconsider our approach entirely. The humans sent us a message after our withdrawal. They invited diplomatic contact. Laughter rippled through the council chamber. Diplomacy. Elder Kriv scoffed. With a species that humiliated an imperial fleet, the only appropriate response is overwhelming force. I propose we assemble the Grand Armada, 10,000 ships, and reduce their world to ash. The sovereign remained silent for a long moment before finally speaking. Assemble the Armada. Grand Marshal Taser will lead the punitive expedition. 3 weeks later, the largest military force in the history of the Caldari Empire emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 10,000 warships, each more powerful than the last, arranged in perfect geometric formations that stretched across millions of kilometers of space. No sign of human vessels, reported the sensor officer aboard the new flagship, Imperial Vengeance. Taser nodded, his expression grim. Proceed with caution. Full scans of the entire system before we advance. Grand Marshal, Zilk said quietly, you seem hesitant. Not hesitant, cautious. The humans demonstrated tactical thinking beyond anything in our experience. I doubt they've been idle since our last encounter. As if in response to his thoughts, a communication request came through. The main display activated to show General Kim, the same human military leader from their previous encounter. Grand Marshal Vex, the general greeted him with what appeared to be genuine warmth. I was hoping we'd meet again under more diplomatic circumstances. I see you've brought friends this time. Taser maintained his composure. General Kim, your invitation for diplomatic contact has been received and rejected by the Imperial Council. The Caldari Empire does not negotiate with lesser species. Lesser? Kim raised an eyebrow. Interesting choice of words after our last encounter. A temporary setback, Taser replied. As you can see, we've returned with the full might of our empire. The human's expression remained calm. Yes, I can see that. Most impressive. Before we proceed, I'd like to show you something, with your permission, of course. Taser hesitated, then nodded. The display changed to show what appeared to be an ordinary asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Then the image zoomed in, and what had appeared to be simple space rocks began to transform. Countless asteroids suddenly shifted, outer layers peeling away to reveal massive weapon emplacements, shield generators, and propulsion systems. We call it the Aegis Array. General Kim explained as the display showed hundreds, then thousands of disguised defense platforms activating throughout the asteroid belt. We've been building it for 60 years. Each platform has the firepower equivalent to one of your destroyers. The display shifted again, this time to Earth's moon. Enormous hangar doors opened across the lunar surface, revealing vast underground shipyards where vessels twice the size of the Imperial Vengeance waited in launch positions. Our lunar construction facilities, Kim continued. We've maintained the appearance of a largely barren satellite while hollowing out approximately 60% of its mass for military infrastructure. Before Taser could respond, the display changed again, showing what appeared to be Jupiter's largest moons. Once again, what had seemed natural transformed before his eyes. Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa revealed themselves to be not just moons, but fully weaponized defensive positions with energy signatures that dwarfed anything in the Caldari fleet. The Jovian Defense Network, Kim said simply. We found that gas giants provide excellent cover for certain types of quantum energy generators. Zilks leaned close to Taser. Are they revealing their entire defense network to us? Why would they expose their strategic assets? Taser suddenly understood. Because they want us to see. This isn't just their defense network, it's a demonstration. As if confirming his realization, the display returned to General Kim. What you're seeing, Grand Marshal, represents approximately 20% of our system's defensive capabilities. The rest remain classified for now. We hope to avoid this situation, but we've prepared for it nonetheless. The tactical display suddenly blazed with warnings as sensors detected massive energy buildups throughout the system. not just from the revealed defenses, but from positions that had previously registered as empty space. What you're now detecting, Kim explained, are our phased reality installations coming back into normal spacetime. They exist slightly out of phase with our universe most of the time, which makes them rather difficult to detect. Taser felt a chill unlike anything he'd experienced in centuries of military service. Your technology, this level of advancement, is not what you expected from a lesser species. Kim smiled. That's the thing about humanity, Marshall. We've spent most of our history fighting each other. Every innovation, every tactical doctrine, every technological breakthrough came from our need to gain advantage over opponents who thought exactly like we did. When you've spent thousands of years trying to outsmart yourself, you develop a rather unique perspective on warfare. The sensor officer's voice shook as she reported, "Grand Marshal, we're detecting quantum signatures consistent with artificial wormhole generation throughout the system. It appears their main fleet is arriving." The space around the Sol system suddenly erupted with controlled tears in spacetime as massive human warships emerged from artificially generated wormholes. Unlike the vessels they had encountered before, these ships moved with deliberate, almost unhurried precision. Their designs were varied, some sleek and predatory, others massive and imposing, but all radiating power signatures that made the Keldary's most advanced technology seem primitive by comparison. That, General Kim said quietly, is the Earth Expeditionary Force. Our actual military fleet. What you encountered previously was indeed our Academy Training Squadron and our System Defense Auxiliaries. The human vessels formed a perfect spherical formation around the Keldari Armada, not threatening, but certainly containing. I want to be very clear about something, Grand Marshal, Kim continued. We are not conquerors. We have no interest in subjugating your empire or destroying your civilization. In fact, we would much prefer peaceful coexistence and cultural exchange. Then why? Taser gestured at the overwhelming force surrounding his fleet. Because throughout our history, we've learned that peace must be secured from a position of strength. We've studied your empire, Marshal. 5,000 years of conquest, thousands of subjugated worlds. You understand only the language of power, so we're speaking it fluently while extending an olive branch. An olive branch? Taser questioned. A human symbol of peace, Kim explained. We're inviting you to join us for diplomatic negotiations, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals who recognize each other's strength. Taser looked at the tactical display, at the overwhelming force arrayed against his armada. The Keldari Empire had never encountered a species capable of this level of coordination, this fusion of technology and tactical brilliance. Even with 10,000 ships, victory seemed not just unlikely but impossible. And if we refuse? He asked, already knowing the answer. Then we will defend ourselves, Kim replied simply. We won't pursue your retreating vessels, we won't counter-invade your territory, and we won't demand reparations. But neither will we allow you to threaten our world or our people. Taser turned to Zilks, who nodded imperceptibly. Then he faced the human general again. The Keldari Empire has existed for 5 millennia, General. In all that time, we have never retreated twice from the same adversary. There's a first time for everything, Marshal, Kim replied. Or, if you prefer, we could simply call it the beginning of diplomatic relations rather than a retreat. For the first time in his long military career, Taser Vex laughed. A genuine expression of respect. You humans truly do think differently, he said. Very well, General. I will return to the Imperial Council with your proposal for diplomatic negotiations, and I will strongly advise that they accept. Excellent, Kim replied with a warm smile. We look forward to more peaceful discussions. And Marshal, next time, perhaps bring fewer ships. It makes for a less complicated orbital traffic pattern. As the Keldari Armada withdrew from the Sol system, Taser stood at the observation deck, watching the massive human defensive network return to its camouflaged state, a species that had mastered not just technology and tactics, but strategic deception on a system-wide scale. "We've encountered something new here," he told Zilks as they prepared for the return journey. "Not just a powerful adversary, but a species that understands that true strength lies not in conquest, but in the ability to defend what matters without becoming what you fight against." "Do you believe the Council will agree to diplomacy?" Zilks asked. Taser gazed at the fading image of Earth on the main display. "They would be fools not to. The humans could have destroyed us today. Instead, they showed restraint, wisdom, and a level of strategic thinking that surpasses even our most revered military doctrines." As the Imperial vengeance entered hyperspace, Taser found himself looking forward to returning, not to conquer, but to learn from a species that had transformed the very art of warfare into something beyond mere violence, a complex dance of technology, psychology, and philosophy that had rendered the Caldari Empire's 5,000 years of military doctrine obsolete in a single encounter. The humans hadn't just defeated them, they had changed them. And perhaps, Taser thought, that was their most powerful weapon of all.